Right, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قال قيس ibn al-Khutaym. So Qais al-Hutaym, or al-Hutaym, is a Jahili poet. So it's from the times of Jahiliyyah. And they don't really know whether he said this poem before Islam, because they say he accepted Islam. So was this poem said before he accepted Islam, or was it said after he accepted Islam? We're not really sure about that. Alright, and this poem is basically kind of like advice. So there's some poems which are known as hikam. So if you remember in the first lesson I told you about different types of poems, genres. So this is hikmas. Yeah, wise words, wisdom. So him, Qais ibn Khutaym, and you have Umayyah bin Abi Salt, who's a Christian. These are famous poets, pre-Islamic poets, whose poetry was filled with wisdom. So this poem follows the Wafir pattern. Wafir. And the Wafir pattern is Mufa'alatun. Mufa'alatun. Yeah, so it just goes through Mufa'alatun. So وَمَا بَعْدُ الْمُفَاعَلَةٌ إِقَامَةِ فِي مُفَاعَلَةٌ دِيَارِ يُحَانُ بِهَا مُفَاعَلَةٌ فَتَا إِلَّا مُفَاعَلَةٌ بَلَاءُ. So it follows that pattern. Now, so what does he say? So وَمَا بَعْدُ الْإِقَامَةِ فِي الدِّيَارِ يُحَانُ is from the word Hana Yahinu, yeah, which means to humiliate, disgrace. Al-Fata, it means a young man, young strong man. And Bala, we've mentioned this before, it means a test, Ibtila. So what does the poem mean? وَمَا بَعْدُ الْإِقَامَةِ فِي دِيَارٍ يُهَانُ بِهَا الْفَتَى إِلَّا بَلَى. Some residents, meaning sometimes when you reside in a place in which a person is humiliated, that's nothing but a test. Yeah, so in simple terms, what he's trying to say is this. Sometimes when a person stays in a locality in which he's being humiliated, that's a big test for him. In other words, him being humiliated and continuing to live there, this is a big test. So in other words, he shouldn't really live there. So a person should not have to live in a place where he's being humiliated. So wow, isti'naf. Ma is nafi. Ba'ad is mudaf. Al-iqamati is mudaf ilayhi. Which mudaf, we'll make that all together. So fi is jar, diyar is mawsoof, yuhanu is fi'l majhul, and al-fata is the naib fa'il, or the fa'il maf'ul ma lam yusma fa'iluhu. Biha is muta'alliq to yuhan. All of that becomes the sifa, jumla fi'liya. Sifa plus the mawsoof becomes the majroor, and then the majroor plus the jar ma ba'd al-iqamati. Fi is muta'alliq to iqama because it's a masdar, and then all of that change the color. All of this is in the ruling of mubtada or ism of ma, and then bala is the khabar. Illa lughun. Okay, وَبَعْدُ خَلَائِقِ الْأَقْوَامِ دَاءٌ. So ba'du khalaiq. Khalaiq is the jam of khaliqa, which means like a natural trait, characteristic. Khaliqa, or the way people, a trend. Aqwam is the jam of qawm, plural of qawm. Kada, da is an illness. Kada il batan, batan is belly. ليس له دواء. So بعض خلائق الأقوام داء. Some characteristics, some traits of nations are illnesses, like the illness of the stomach, ليس له دواء, which has no cure. Dawa means cure. Now, one thing we have to understand is that in Jahiliyyah days, there used to be certain illnesses which were incurable, terminal, and one of them was known as the Da'ul Batan, the illness of the stomach. So people used to die of the illness of the stomach, and this is why it comes in a hadith as well, that if someone dies due to illness of the stomach, they're shaheed. So maybe I don't know what kind of illness this could have been, but most likely it was curable later on. But in them days it was not curable. So he compares it with the illness of the stomach. So بعض خلائق الأقوام داء. So بعض is مضاف. خلائق again is مضاف. الأقوام مضاف إليه. مضاف plus the مضاف إليه becomes the مضاف إليه. And then the مضاف and the مضاف إليه becomes مبتدأ. دا is the خبر. So بعض خلائق الأقوام داء. And كداء ka is jar. Da is مضاف. البطن is مضاف إليه. مضاف plus the مضاف إليه becomes مجرور. And then this is ثابت متعلق to jar مجرور. ثابت, and that becomes the sifa of that. And then ليس له دواء, that's the second sifa. So ليس فعل ناقص, and then dawa is the ism of laysa, and lahu is the khabar. All that put together becomes second sifa, sifa number 2, and that's sifa number 1. Yeah, everyone with me? Okay. وبعض القول ليس له عناج. So بعض القول, بعض واو عطف, بعض is مضاف, القول is مضاف إليه, becomes the مبتدا. ليس له عناج, so ليس is فعل ناقص, عناج is the ism, and له is the khabar. And then كمحض الماء ليس له, that becomes like previously we done. That's going to become exactly the same sifa of inaj. Yeah, so inaj كمحض الماء ليس له إناء. Mahad means pure. Yeah, and this becomes the mudaf. Ma is actually I didn't translate it. Let me just translate it then. So inaj means container, right? Something that can contain something. Yeah, so a vessel, ina, container. And mahd al-ma'i laysa lahu ina. So وبعض القول, certain statements people make, ليس له إناج, there's no limits for them, there's no like vessel for it, it can't be contained. كمحض الماء, like just pure water, ليس له إناء, which has no vessel. Yeah, so in other words, just like pure water that's in a stream or in a river that has no vessel for it, likewise certain people's statements are just said without any limits. They'll say things to hurt you, right? And you know, they won't have any limits on the things they say. So just like water flows and just keeps flowing, so likewise their statements just keep flowing. Root change. No, I don't think so. No, it's different. Okay, so ليس له بعض القول, that becomes the khabar, and like I said to you, these become the two sifas, sifa 1, sifa 2. Ya Allah. Right, next. يريد المرء. Yuridu is it's from irada, which means to intend, to want. Al-mar'u, it means a person. And yu'ta, majhul, manahu. Okay, manahu is from the word maniya or munya, which means your dreams, something that you're really passionate about, you want, your desire, you can say. وَيَأْبَى اللَّهُ. Ya'ba is to refuse. Aba ya'ba, to refuse. إِلَّا مَا يَشَاءُ. So يُرِيدُ الْمَرْءُ, a person. Now this alif lam, this is what we call alif lam jins. So that's when you translate it, you just say a person wants, not the person, like a particular individual. So this alif lam is not for ta'rif, it's not ma'rifah, it's alif lam jins. So a person wants to be given his dreams, to be given his desires. That's what people want. People want to be given their desires. وَيَأْبَى اللَّهُ. However, Allah refuses except whatever He wills. So in other words, people want whatever their desires demand, but Allah doesn't give according to that. Allah gives according to His will. So the whole universe is running according to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If that desire is in accordance with the will, Allah will give you. And if that desire is not in accordance with the will, then Allah will not give you. Okay, so yuridu. So you gotta remember, these poets were Jahili poets, but many of them, they still had like the concept of God, of Allah, of the power of Allah. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ, he used to enjoy listening to these kind of poets, because their words were filled with wisdom. So this is fi'l, fa'il. An yu'ta manahu. So an is masdariya. Yu'ta is fi'l majhul plus na'ib fa'il. Manahu is mudaf ilayh, becomes the maf'ul bihi. So all of that bita'wili masdar mu'awwal becomes the maf'ul bihi of that. Okay, وَيَأْبَى اللَّهُ. Ya'ba is fi'l. The word Allah is the fa'il. إِلَّا مَا يَشَاءُ. Illa is lughun here. Ma is mawsul. And yasha is sila. Fi'l fa'il, sila, and all that becomes the maf'ul bihi of ya'ba. Okay, next. Okay, وَكُلُّ شَدِيدَةٍ نَزَلَتْ. Shadida means something severe, and it usually refers to hardships. Yeah, hardships. So shadidatin. Nazalat, it befalls. بِقَوْمٍ سَيَأْتِي بَعْدَ شِدَّتِهَا رَخَاء. Rakha means easiness. Yeah, or ease. So كُلُّ شَدِيدَةٍ, or every shadida, every hardship, every difficulty that befalls a nation, then سَيَأْتِي بَعْدَ شِدَّتِهَا رَخَاء. Then easiness will definitely come after it. Easiness will definitely come after it. And this is the way a believer, this is someone who believes in Allah, this is their mindset. And the Quran emphasizes this as well. Yeah, like certain verses of the Quran that mention that, after difficulty there'll be ease. So this is that concept as well. And this is why, like certain Orientalists, they attack the Quran, and they say stuff like, oh look, the Quran just repeating what Imru al-Qais said, or the Quran just repeating what Umayyah bin Abi Salt said, or the Quran just repeating what these previous poets have said. And they'll bring examples of it. But the thing you have to remember, the Mufassirin say, is the Quran did not claim that it's bringing a totally new genre on the scene with expressions that have never been used by Arabs. Then that would be absurd, because the Quran clearly claims, it says that it's in an Arabic language. So if it's in the Arabic language, it has to follow the expressions used by Arabs. And if those expressions coincide with Arab sayings, then why not? What's wrong with that? So this is something to remember. So kullu shadidatin. Kullu is mudaf. and shadidatin is mudaf ilayhi, and all that becomes mawsuf. Nazalat is fi'l plus the fa'il. Biqawmin, this is the jar and the majroor. Jar and majroor are muta'alliq to nazalat. Okay, then all of that becomes the sifa, and all of that becomes the mubtada. And sayati, yati is fi'l, seen is for ta'keed, plus actually no plus. So ba'ad is mudaf, and shiddatiha is mudaf ilayhi. Mudaf plus mudaf ilayhi becomes the dharf, that's muta'alliq to the fi'l, and rakha is the fa'il of sayati, and that becomes the khabar. Okay. Right. Wala yu'tal, and this is actually, you know, I don't know if you've probably heard like scholars quoting this, yuridul mar'u an yu'ta manahu wa ya'ba Allahu illa ma yasha. This is a famous kind of saying that you find in tafsirs and books of hadith as well, commentaries. They quote this. ولا يؤتى الحريص غنى لحرص وقد ينمي على الجود الثراء. So لا يؤتى الحريص. Haris means someone who has lots of zeal, a zealous person. Yeah, hirs, someone who really wants, like someone who really wants something. Ambitious. You can probably say ambitious as well. Ghani or ghina is richness. Yanmi, it means to grow. Nama yanmu or yanmi. Yeah, yanmi. Or yunma actually can have majhul. So I think yunma would be better. Majhul. Ala al-jud al-thara'u. So thara, it means excessive wealth. Excessive wealth. So ولا يؤتى الحريص غنى لحرص. A person who is zealous will not be given richness due to his zeal. وقد ينمى على الجود الثراء. And sometimes, so قد, when قد comes before a fi'l mudari', then this is generally used for sometimes. Yeah. So قد ينمى على الجود الثراء. Thara, excessive wealth, sometimes increases with generosity. So jud means generosity. Generosity. Now here, you see this ala, how I translated it? I translated it as with. So sometimes the Arabs, what they do is they'll use ala with the meaning of ma'a. Okay, so sometimes you get that. They interchange. But this all depends on what word it comes after. Yeah, so depending on what kind of word it comes after. And the other thing you have to remember as well is that in the Arabic language, these words, ala, or letters, prepositions, you call them huruf al-jar, that they can, in English, are translated in slightly different ways. So for example, like, you know, at, yeah, I got up at fajr. So for example, in Arabic you would say in the, or you could say fil fajr. So it's in English we kind of express them in different ways, but in Arabic they have their own usage. Yeah, so ala means on top, above, ala al-judi, and it's kind of creating an image of a person like sitting on top of generosity. So you don't really get that in English. So ولا يؤتى الحريص. لا يؤتى is fi'l majhul, and haris is the na'ib fa'il, and ghinan is the maf'ul bihi, and lihirsin jar majroor plus majroor, and that's muta'alliq to la yu'ta, and all of that is jumla fi'liya khabariya. وقد ينمى, ينمى is فعل, and أثر is the fa'il, or نائب fa'il rather, and على الجود again jar مجرور متعلق to that, and that becomes جملة فعلية خبرية. Okay. غني, غني النفس, غني النفس ما عمرت. So غني النفس ما عمرت غني. So this word over here, غني النفس ما عمرت غني, وفقر النفس ما عمرت شقاء. Yeah, so غني, we've done that. عمرت, it means to be given life, to be given umr. Umr, given life, so prolonged life. Yeah, so amara ya'muru, it means to make someone live longer. So umirat means to make live longer. Shaqa means wretchedness. Okay, or something that's evil. Yeah, shaqa. Shaqa can also mean hardship. Yeah, and hardship seems to be fit more better here. Yeah, difficulty. Put yourself through difficulty. So ghaniyun nafsi. So a content soul. Ghani means to be rich. A rich soul, a rich person, rich soul. Ma umirat. So long as it's living, so long as it's given life, is ghani, is rich. Wa faqrun nafsi, and the poverty of the soul. Ma umirat, so long as it lives, is given umr, shaqa, is hardship. Yeah, so in other words, true, like we say, comes in a hadith as well, that true richness is the richness of the soul, the heart. So if your heart is content, doesn't matter how long you live for, you'll be considered rich. And true poverty or true hardship is a person whose heart is impoverished. Yeah, whose poverty is in his heart. So long as he lives, he'll be going through difficulty. Yeah, so this is very wise words, these are. And you can see how, in a hadith as well, this kind of statements resonate there and reflect. So, غني النفس مبتدا. ما عمرت, this is ما ظرف, ما ظرفية, بمعنى ما دام. So, عمرت is فعل plus نائب فاعل. And all of that becomes the ظرف. Okay, غني, this becomes the khabar. And فقر النفس, same thing again. مبتدا, it's the khabar. And I'll put them both together, becomes the ظرف. Yeah, and these are good poems to memorize. Well, they say if you want to become an expert in Arabic poetry, you have to study over 1,000 poems. Yeah, and you have to memorize hundreds of poems. You want to become a real expert. So, وَلَيْسَ بِنَافِعٍ ذَا الْبُخْلِ مَالٌ. So, nafi' is something that benefits. And ذَا الْبُخْلِ, ذا is the possessor. The possessor, the al-bukhli, of miserliness. Wala murzin, this is murzin. Bisahibihi sakha'u. Okay, so murz means a fault, a flaw, a defect, and sakha is generosity. Yeah, like we say in Urdu and other languages say as well, sakhi, this guy is sakhi. Yeah, sakha, sakhi. Okay, so that. However, it's interesting that the scholars discuss this issue, like Ibn Jini and others. They discuss this issue that why does the Quran use the word kareem and doesn't use the word sakhi? Yeah, why does it use the plural of certain words and doesn't use the single form of certain words? So that's also another science in itself, looking at the words the Quran uses and the words the Quran leaves out. So anyway, وَلَيْسَ بِنَافِعٍ ذَا الْبُخْلِ مَالٌ. So mal, remember, is the ism of laysa. So, in other words, it means this then. Wealth cannot benefit or does not benefit the person who possesses miserliness. وَلَا مُرْزٍ بِصَاحِبِهِ السَّخَاءُ. Nor does generosity become a fault for its possessor, its owner, sahib. In other words, that wealth, just because a person has wealth, that does not mean that it will benefit the person, especially if that person is miserly. And likewise, generosity, just because a person is generous and gives, it doesn't mean that's a fault and defect in the person who does that. So laysa is fi'l naqis. Malun is the ism. Binafi, ba is zaida. So we call ba zaida because you get ba zaida in the khabar of laysa. And nafi, this is the majroor. And dhal mal, mudaf ilayh, becomes the maf'ul bihi of nafi. And then this is actually ataf onto nafi. So nafi from here, that's what we call the ma'tuf alayhi. Yeah, ma'tuf alayhi. So, and this, all of this, the same tarkib, and it's ma'tuf. Yeah, so murdin is majroor bisahibihi sakha. So bisahibihi jar majroor muta'alliq to murz, and sakha is the ism of laysa. Okay, and this one, so وَبَعْدُ الدَّاءِ مُلْتَمِسٌ شِفَاهُ وَدَاءُ النُّوكِ لَيْسَ لَهُ شِفَاء. You can say it two ways. You can say nuk, or you can say nok. Okay, بَعْدُ الدَّاء. So certain illnesses, their cure can be sought, is sought. Multamis is to seek. Iltamasa, lams means to touch. So you seek something by touching it. Yeah, it's like it's dark and you're putting your hands to kind of search for your car keys or something. No, seek. So multamis, and shifa is cure. So ba'du da'i, certain illnesses, cure is sought, can be sought. Wada'un nuk. Nuk means someone who is stupid. Yeah, someone who is idiot, stupid. Call him a nuk. So da'un nuk, the illness of stupidity, laysa lahu shifa, does not have a cure. There's no cure for it. You can't go to the chemist and buy something off the counter for that. So ba'du da'i mubtada. Multamisun shifahu. So multamisun shifahu. This becomes the rather khabar. Shifahu becomes the maf'ul bihi of multamis. And then wada'u nuk, da'u an-nuki, that becomes the mubtada. And laysa lahu shifa, naqis. Shifa is the ism of laysa, and lahu is the khabar. All put together becomes the khabar of da'un-nuk. Yeah, everyone got that? Any question on that? So we kind of went through that quite quick because there's not really anything difficult there. It's quite simple, straightforward. It's advice, it's good. No real kind of difficult story to understand behind it. And the words are quite straightforward as well. Okay, so let's have a little break. We have a little break now, and then inshallah we'll continue from there. Okay. Right, so As-Sultan Al-Abdi. As-Sultan Al-Abdi, this is a poet who was an Islamic poet. So he was Islami. And the thing about him, he was what is known as Khabithul Lisan. Yeah, so he had a very filthy tongue, meaning that he would say all sorts of things. He was one of those poets that didn't have limits. Yeah, that would say anything. However, some of his poems are very good. Usually the ones who are the worst poets, yeah, the most vulgar poets, those are the ones who you tend to find who are very eloquent in being able to express themselves. So anyway, so this is again another poem of wisdom. It's from the pattern of al-Mutaqarib. Yeah, so Mutaqarib just follows the pattern of Fa'ulun. Yeah, Fa'ulun, Fa'ulun, Fa'ulun. So Ashabas, Fa'ulun, Saghiru, Fa'ulun, wa Afnal, Fa'ulun, Kabiru, Fa'ulun, Karral, Fa'ulun, Ghadati, Fa'ulun, wa Marral, Fa'ulun, Ashi. Yeah, so it follows that pattern. Okay, so أشاب الصغيرة وأفنى الكبيرة كر الغداة ومر العشي. So ashaba, it means to make old. Yeah, to actually give someone white hair. And this comes in the Quran as well, like we said last week as well. Yeah. Shiba. Yeah. So, and Zakaria alayhi salam says about the shayb in his hair. So ashaba, it means to make someone old. As-saghir, small. Afna, fana, it means to decimate or to destroy or to vanquish. Fana, annihilate. So afna, yufni, ifna. Al-kabir, this is to destroy. Karrul ghadati, kar, it means repeating, repetition. And mar, it means the passing. Marra yamur. Yeah, ghadat is morning, ashi is evening. Ashi actually starts from after the afternoon. So from afternoon, so imagine this is the clock. Ghadat starts from, let's say, Fajr all the way until Zuhr. And then Ashi starts from Zuhr all the way until Maghrib. That's Ashi. And that's Ghadat. Yeah, so just like we say morning and evening, they say Ghada and Ashi. Like the hadith comes, لَغَدْوَةٌ فِي سَبِي أو روحة. Roha is another word for Ashi. Okay, so what does the hadith mean? What does the poem mean? So Ashabas, Karul Ghadat, Marul Ashi are the file of Ashaba. So in other words, that the repetition of the evening, the repeating of the evening, evening coming, evening going, or Marul Ashi, and morning. So morning coming and evening going has made the young old and has destroyed, annihilated the old. So he's talking about the nature of the life that we live. So the nature of the life that we live is that time passes, morning comes, morning goes, evening comes, evening goes. And this passing of time has resulted in every small thing becoming old and every old thing dying. Yeah, so ashaba saghira wa afna al-kabira karul ghadati wa marul ashi, in a nice kind of way, a flowing kind of way. And in balagha, this is al-muqabala as well, or where you have two things, kar and mar, and ghadat and ashi, yeah, in contrast to one another. And ashaba and kind of, well, afna is not really the opposite of ashaba, but it's a loose opposite. And saghir is the opposite of kabir. And those of you guys that didn't balagha with me, you can just watch those videos again if you forget these things and refresh your memory. Okay, so ashaba is fi'l, as-saghira is the maf'ul bihi, and afna is the fi'l, and al-kabir is the maf'ul bihi. Now you see this karrul ghadati wa marrul ashi. So karrul ghadati wa marrul ashi. Kar is the mudaf and ghadati is the mudaf ilayhi, and all that put together becomes the ma'tuf alayhi, and then that's the same day. That becomes mudaf ilayhi, becomes the ma'tuf. Now all these put together become the fa'il. However, what is it the fa'il for? Is it the fa'il for ashaba or is it the fa'il for afna? This is known as at-tanazu'. Tanazu' in Arabic grammar. Tanazu' al-fi'lain. Yeah, where two fi'ls fight over one file. Yeah, two fi'ls. So, you know, it's a long discussion, so I won't be having it here, but you can just go back to the books of Nahu and see there. For example, they say something like Ja'a wa sami'a Zayd. Yeah, so Ja'a wa sami'a Zayd. So Zayd, what is it the file of? Is it the file of sami'a? And hence the file of Ja'a is the huwa inside of it? Or is it the file of Ja'a? Yeah, so in other words, the two fi'ls are fighting over tanazu' over the file. Yeah, and this is an ikhtilaf between the Basri school of Nahu and the Kufi school of Nahu. Okay. إذا ليلة حرمت يومها أتى بعد ذلك يوم فتي. So إذا ليلة حرمت. Harima means to go old. Yeah, old. يومها day. أتى يوم فتي. So fata, we've done that before. So إذا ليلة. So إذا ليلة حرمت. So we've done this إذا before, if you remember. Yeah, so here is where you have, you know, after إذا, if you have an ism, then you have to hide over here the fi'l, which is harimat. Yeah, harimat. So we talked about this in the beginning of the course, hiding the fi'l. So إذا ليلة حرمت يومها, when the night makes its day go old. When the night makes its day go old. أتى بعد ذلك يوم فتي. After that, a young day comes again. Again, he's talking about the nature of the day and night. So when, let's say for example, let's say in the evening, the day finishes. So when the day finishes and the night starts, the night makes the day go old, meaning the night makes the day disappear. So when the night's coming, the day seems to be going old, elderly, yeah, frail, and then all disappears, it dies. And then the night takes over, and the night, in the end, after the night finishes, a new fresh day is born. And this new day that's born is like a new young man. Yawmun Fati. Yeah, Fati means like strong. So in other words, the nature of day and night is that night will come, make the day go old, and then a new fresh day will come. So إذا ليلة حرمت يومها أتى بعد ذلك يوم فتي. So إذا is ظرف شرط, and then ليلة is the fa'il, and the fi'l is hidden over there. Okay, حرمت is fi'l plus fa'il, and يومها, this is مفعول به. أتى فعل, يوم فتي موصوف صفة becomes the fa'il, and بعد ذلك is ظرف, which is متعلق to أتى, and all that becomes the khabar. جزاء, جزاء. So إذا ليلة حرمت يومها أتى بعد ذلك يوم فتي. نروح ونغدو. Okay, so راح يروح. The Arabs describe days according to their practices. So one of their practices was the walking the camels. So what they would do is they would take out the camels in the morning. So imagine this is morning time. early morning. This is known as ghada. And then they would bring their camels back in the evening. This is known as rawh. Rawh. Yeah. حين يريحون وحين يسرحون. It's mentioned as well in the Quran. So ghada and rawh, raha. So in the morning you go out full of energy, and in the evening you come back relaxed, rawh, relaxing. So the animals would come back. So naruhu wa naghdu. So naruh means you come back in the evening. So you return. And naghdu, it means you go out. Yeah, like we kind of commute. So naruhu, we go out. Wa naghdu, we return in the evening. Wa naghdu, we go out in the morning. Lihajatina. There's not supposed to be an alif there. If there's an alif there, ignore that. Lihajatina, haja, it means need. Something that makes life, difficulties in life easy. It's called a haja. Asha, you know what that means? It means to live. Done that before. La tanqadi means to expire. Qada. So naruhu wa naghdu. We return, we go out, lihajatina, for our needs. Yeah, so in other words, we go out in the morning for work, we come back in the evening, and we do all of this due to our needs. We have human needs. وَحَاجَةُ مَنْ عَاشَ لَا تَنْقَضِي. And the needs of a person who is alive, who is living, will never expire. So long as you're alive, your needs will always be there. Yeah, so he's kind of talking sense really. He's basically talking about observations of life. Yeah, this is what life is all about. So naruhu is fi'l fa'il. And naghdu, again fi'l plus fa'il. Ataf ma'tuf. And lihajatina is jar majrur muta'alliq to naghdu or to naruhu, again tanazu fi'lain. Wahajatu ataf. Hajatu is mudaf. And man is mawsul. And asha is fi'l fa'il. And all that mawsul, sila, mudaf, all that put together becomes mubtada. And la tanqadi, fi'l plus fa'il, is the khabar. نروح ونغدو لحاجاتنا وحاجة من عاش لا تنقضي. Next. ويسلبه الموت أثوابه ويمنعه الموت ما يشتهي. Salaba, it means to pull off. So to pull off something from someone, you say salb. Yeah, you take it off, you put it off them. And it usually refers to like clothing. So someone's got some clothing on and you pull their clothing off. And this was usually in battle. So if you killed your enemy, what you would do is whatever he was wearing, you were allowed to take it off him. Like if he was wearing, fine silk, or if he was wearing a sword, or if he was wearing armor, you could take it off. Salaba. And this is why, like modern Arabic, they call negative as salb, salbi, salb, negative, because something's been taken off. Al-maut is death, athwab is clothing, thawb. And the reason clothing is called thawb, like we said before, is because thaba means to wrap around. وَيَمْنَعُهُ الْمَوْتِ مَا يَشْتَهِ. Yashtahi means desire, what he desires. So what does this mean then? He says, death pulls off him his clothes. And when death comes, death will cause your clothes to be taken off you. وَيَمْنَعُهُ الْمَوْتُ مَا يَشْتَهِ. And death stops, prevents you from getting what you desire, or prevents him from what he desires. So once a person dies, all those things that a person used to desire, death has become a barrier between him and the desires. يَمْنَعُهُ الْمَوْتُ مَا يَشْتَهِ. So in other words, what he's saying is, once a person dies, the people will come and remove his clothes, will, cover him up, put him in a shroud and bury him. So that shroud, it's as though he's forcefully clothed with the shroud, even though in the world he used to desire to wear all these fancy clothes. He used to desire all these different clothings, but when death comes, death will force him to wear the simple shroud. So يَسْلُبُهُ الْمَوْتُ أَثْوَابَهُ وَيَمْنَعُهُ الْمَوْتُ مَا يَشْتَهِي. So يَسْلَب is fail plus the مفعول به. الموت is the fa'il, and أثوابه is the مفعول به. Okay, so all that put together is jumla fi'liya khabariya. So even though this guy was like a khabithul lisan, the guy spoke sense. He got some good points, observations. Fi'l, and then that's the maf'ul bihi, and al-mawtu is the fa'il, and ma yashtahi is the second maf'ul bihi. So ma is mawsul, and yashtahi is fi'l plus fa'il, and sila, and all that becomes the maf'ul thani, maf'ul bihi number 2. That's maf'ul bihi number 1. Okay, let's go down. Okay, تموت مع المرء حاجاته وتبقى له حاجة ما بقي. The words are quite simple there. So if you don't understand the word, just tell me inshallah and I'll explain it. حاجاته. So حاجاته is the file of tamut. Right? So حاجاته, his needs, a person's needs die with a person. وتبقى له حاجة. And so long as he is alive, ma baqi, so long as he remains, needs will remain for him. In other words, so long as he's alive, he'll have needs. And as soon as a person dies, with him dies also his needs as well. Yeah, so he doesn't need anything else. He doesn't need a house, he doesn't need wealth, he doesn't need a job, he doesn't need a family, he doesn't need anything at all when he dies. So tamutu, that's the fa'il, that's the fi'l. مع المرء is مضاف مضاف إليه is the ظرف. تعاليت تموت. تبقى is فعل. And حاجة is the fa'il. And all that becomes the له متعلق تبقى. And ما بقي is ما مصدرية again, ظرفية. And بقي is the فعل. And all that put together becomes the ظرف of تبقى. Okay. إذا قلت يوما لمن قد ترى أروني. إذا قلت يوما لمن قد ترى أروني سرية. السرية. هذا كسران الراء. السرية. أروك. That's أروك. That is أروك الغنية. Okay, so the only, I think, difficult word here is sari. Sari means someone who is honorable, a sharif person. Yeah, honorable. Someone who is honorable, someone who is generous, someone who is noble. إذا قلت يوما. One day, when you say لمن قد ترى, to the one who can see. In other words, the one who can see in life, as in he can see everything, see the reality. So if you ask the person and you say to them, Aruni Sariya, can you show me the most honorable person in the community? The person who is the most noble, generous, show me him. Arauka, they will show you the Ghani, the rich person. Yeah. So in other words, what does it mean? It means that it can mean two things here, what he could say. What he could mean is this, that the real Sharif person, the person who is the real Sharif person, is the person who is rich. And remember what he said about rich before. Someone who is rich of the nafs. Their nafs is rich. Yeah, so it could mean that. Or the other meaning could be this, that the rich person in the community is the real honorable person. The true honorable person in the community is a person who is rich. Yeah, in other words, he is the person who is who the people consider to be honorable, a rich person. So it could be like the other way around, as in people measure people's honor in how much wealth they have. Just like today, someone who's very rich, people respect him and honor him and treat him as royalty. Yeah, so he could be saying that. So it could be two possibilities of what he means here. إذا قلت يوما لمن قد ترى, if you say to the one who sees, meaning who sees the problems of society, reality of society, أروني السرية, show me the honorable person, أروك الغني, they'll show you the rich person. ألم ترى لقمان, okay, so إذا is شرط ظرف, قلت is فعل, and يوما is so فعل plus فاعل. يوما is مفعول به. لمن, لي is jar. من is موصول. قد ترى. قد, so remember we said before about قد. When قد comes before a فعل مضارع, it has the meaning of sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. ترى is فعل plus فاعل. Okay, so all of that is actually don't make that yet. So قلت يوما لمن قد ترى أروني. أروني is أمر, ني is مفعول به, and سري is the مفعول به ثاني, second مفعول به, and then all of that becomes the مقولة of قلت. قلت, yes, that becomes the مفعول به. Now all of that becomes the شرط. Oops, a bit too off there. شرط. And أروك الغني, so أروك فعل plus two مفعول بهs, that becomes the جزاء. So أروك is فعل ماضي. أرو, ka is the first مفعول به, غني is second مفعول به. Okay, so next. ألم ترى لقمان, ألم ترى لقمان أوصى ابنه وأوصيت عمرا فنعم الوصي. Okay, so Luqman, he's talking about the Luqman in the Quran. So Surah Luqman, in the Luqman alayhi salam, he gives advice to his son. So because this guy, Sultan, he's a Muslim, he's in the Islamic era. So he obviously he knows about the story of Luqman alayhi salam. So he says, haven't you seen Luqman, Awsa? Awsa, we talked about this before as well, means to give advice. Yeah, wasi. So Alam tara Luqman, haven't you seen Luqman, Awsa ibnahu, give his son advice? Wa awsaytu Umran, and I also gave advice to Umar. Umar was apparently his son, yeah, the son of Sultan. So awsaytu Umran. Now Umar is غير munsarif, but you say Umran because of darurat al-sha'r. Darura al-sha'r. And in Arabic grammar, there's 4 reasons why غير munsarif word can become munsarif. And one of them is if it occurs in a poem, it can become munsarif. So awsaytu Umran, I gave advice to my son Umar as well. فَنِعْمَ الْوَسِي. So wasi is someone who takes the advice. Yeah, the recipient of the advice. Yeah, so the recipient, the one who takes the advice. Recipient. This guy is called the wasi. So ni'mal wasi. What a beautiful, what an amazing wasi he was. What an amazing person who took advice. Ni'mal wasi. Yeah, so what is he saying here? So basically what he's saying is this. He's kind of motivating his son. Yeah? He's kind of motivating him. So what he's saying is that, look, remember when Luqman gave his son advice? Yeah? What an amazing son he had. And I also gave wasiyah. I also gave advice to my son as well. That couldn't be one meaning. So the ni'mal wasi is going back to the son of Luqman. And the other possibility is that ni'mal wasi is going back to his own son, meaning he's praising his own son. Did you see how Luqman gave advice to his son? And did you see how I gave advice to my son? My son is just an amazing wasi. Yeah, if I had anything I tell him, yeah, he takes it on board. Ni'mal wasi. So okay, istifham. Lam is jazima. Tara is fi'l plus fa'il. Plus fa'il. Luqman is maf'ul bihi. Awsa is fi'l plus fa'il. Ibnahu is mudaf ilayh maf'ul bihi. And both of these put together becomes the hal. Yeah, Jumla fi'li becomes the hal of that. So Lam tar Luqman awsa. So the zul hal is Luqman. Awsaytu is fi'l plus fa'il. Umran is maf'ul bihi. فنعمل. So ni'ma is حروف مدح or فعل مدح. This is فعل مدح. And wasiyu, this is the ism. This is the ismul fi'l. So ismul, or you can say the fa'il rather. The ism, the fa'il of ni'ma. And the makhsus bil madh is hidden. So ni'ma and bi'sa are two fi'ls, and habbatha are two fi'ls, or three fi'ls, which require a fa'il and something called a makhsus bil madh. Makhsus bil madh in Arabic grammar. Yeah, so when you praise someone, so you need them and you need another word as well. That other word can be huwa. Yeah, ni'mal wasi huwa. What an amazing wasi he is. What an amazing wasi he is. So that he is, that's hidden, that is usually. And it's in the Quran as well. Like sometimes you get bi'sal al-masir. Yeah, what an evil destination it is. And what an evil destination Jahannam is. Okay, let's go down. Okay, so Bunayya Bada خب نجوى الرجال فكن عند سرك خب نجي. Yeah, so Bunayya means oh my dear son, and khab, yeah, khab الرجال means something which is evil, yeah, treachery. So khab can be used for treachery, it can be used for evil, it can be used for wretchedness. Yeah, someone who is deceptive as well is known as khab. Khab. Okay, and naji, najwa, it means a secret gathering. Yeah, so secret gathering, najwa. So a group of people that come together secretly and want to have a certain conversation privately. They call it a najwa. Sir is a secret. So najwa is a secret gathering, and sir, so look at that, secret gathering, and that sir is a secret. Naji, again, is from the word najwa, which means a person who is, secretly or confiding in someone. Bunayya, so here this is ya is hidden here, ya. Ya bunayya, oh my dear son. Bada means it's become disclosed, exposed, public, to be exposed. So ya bunayya bada khabbu najwa rijali. Bada khabbu najwa rijali. The deceit or the dishonesty or the evil of the secret gatherings of men has become exposed, has become apparent now. فَكُنْ إِنْدَ سِرِّكَ خَبَّ النَّجِي. So when it comes to your secret, then be the khab al-naji. You be the khab. You be the one who is the deceitful one in the gathering. So what does this mean then? How can you be the deceitful one in the gathering? So in other words, what he's trying to say is that when you're in a gathering, in the sirrika, khab al-naji, your secret, don't go around spreading your secret. فَكُنْ in the sirrika khab al-naji. So you be the person who is, when it comes to your own secret, you be deceitful with your own secret. I.e., don't go and spread other people's secrets. So it's like a, you know, they call it in Arabic, التحكم والاستهزاء. So you're kind of be sarcastic. Meaning that if you have to be deceitful in a gathering, then be deceitful with your own secrets, meaning expose your own secrets, but don't expose other people's secrets. فَكُنْ إِنْدَ سِرِّكَ خَبَّ النَّجِي. خَبْ. Yeah, so that's what he's basically saying to him. خَبَّ النَّجِي. So okay, بَدَى, so يا بُنَيَّ. منادى. بَدَى is فعل. خَبُّ is مضاف. All that is مضاف مضاف إليه becomes the fa'il. فَكُنْ أمر. And in the sirrika is ظرف. خَبَّ النَّجِي. مفعول به. Okay. وسرك ما كان عند امرئ سر الثلاثة غير الخفي. Okay, so وسرك ما كان عند امرئ. So your secret ما كان عند امرئ is so long as it's with one person. So ma can mean here so long as, or it can mean موصول. Sirruka, your secret is that which is with one person. امرئ واحد. وسر الثلاثة, and the secret of three people is no longer a secret, is no longer hidden. Khafi means hidden. So what is he trying to say now? So what he's saying is, if you remember before, he was saying that look, nowadays, you know, a lot of these men, when they have these secret gatherings, they expose themselves. Yeah, they'll go and expose their friends and tell them what they're doing. So if you really want to keep something secret, don't tell more than one person. If you tell more than one person, meaning if you get a third person involved, that secret no longer remains a secret anymore, because now it's going to become exposed. Yeah, so sirruka is mubtada, ma موصول, kana is fi'l naqis, and plus the fa'il, the ism rather, and in the imri'in is dharf khabar. Yeah, and all that becomes the khabar of the mubtada. وسر الثلاثة مضاف مضاف إليه becomes the mubtada, and غير الخفي becomes the khabar. Okay, and the last part. كما الصمت أدنى لبعض الرشاد فبعض التكلم أدنى لغي. Yeah, so الصمت, silence. Okay, أدنى لبعض الرشاد. So أدنى لبعض الرشاد. Rashad, it means righteousness, or it means to be rightly guided, to be on the right path, to be correct. Rashad. Yeah. And it refers to like guidance in ideas. But guidance when it comes to a path, you call it hada. Hada yahdi. Yeah, so there's a difference between Rashid is someone who is rightly guided in their ideas, in their thoughts. And Mahdi is someone who is rightly guided on a path. The difference. فبعض التكلم, تكلم means speech. Adna is least. Adna لغي. غي means the opposite of Rashad, which is misguidance. Yeah, so غي means someone who is misguided in their thoughts, in their ideas. Just like dalal is misguidance on a path. So okay, so kama, this ma is zaida, by the way. Alright, so we don't need to deal with that. This is zaida. So kama as-samtu, just like silence is adna, is the least li ba'd al-rashad. So it's the least, the minimum thing for a person to have some sort of guidance. And فَبَعْضُ التكلم, so some speech, meaning not, so silence, the bare minimum you'll get in silence is that you'll be rightly guided, and the bare minimum you'll get in speaking is misguidance. Yeah, so dalal is the opposite of huda, and ghay is the opposite of rashad. Yep, correct. Yeah, so in other words, what he's saying is this, that he's encouraging his son, or encouraging the reader, not to speak too much. So if you have to speak, speak the bare minimum, because speech, so some speech that you say is a means of a person going astray as well, and silence is always better. Yeah, so kaf is jar. Okay, and we said ma is zaida. As-samt, this is the mubtada. And adna li ba'd al-rashad mudaf mudaf ilay, that becomes the khabar. And ba'd al-takallum is mubtada mudaf mudaf ilay, and adna li ghay is the khabar. Yeah. So these are like advice that he's giving, and very kind of interesting what he says. Okay, so we actually only have 3 more poems left. What I'll do is I'll make a recording of them and I'll send it out to you, inshallah. And again, this poem, Sultan, it's filled with points of balagha. Yeah, we can probably spend a whole lesson just using his poetry as a means of istishhad of rules of balagha, application of rules of balagha. Yeah, so like there's majaz, aqli in there, attributing, giving age, old age, night gives old age to the day. Yeah, personification in there. Yeah, tashbih, and there's opposites, using the opposites in there. Yeah, and then there's also isti'ara in there as well, and there's jinas in there as well. So there's lots and lots of rules of balagha that can be applied to this. Okay, jazakallah khair. We read to write. Yeah, if I understand that correctly, we read to write. Yeah. So the whole aim of studying the poetry, yeah, definitely. Jazakallah khair. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the problem I think with Muslims nowadays is they're not contributing enough to, the culture. They're not contributing enough to, especially in the West, to writing, being expressing yourself. And I think Arabic poetry just shows us how rich of a history that the Muslims had, and how much they spent on poetry. And it doesn't matter how much you really spend on learning poetry, you're always going to benefit, because you're always going to ultimately understand the Quran better. It's always useful. Yeah, definitely. Jazakallah khair, guys. It was really enjoyable having you guys. And like I said, something which yeah, we need to definitely. And hopefully, you guys can teach these poems to people as well, and that's what you should do. Find students, teach them whatever you've learned here, teach it to them, and so you can benefit yourselves as well, improve yourselves, inshallah. And like I said, so keep an eye out for the other courses. The other courses are almost ready. The Urud, Ilm al-Urud, poetry was in a share, is almost ready. And also, I'm, with your advice as well. I like taking your advice. That some of you requested for me to cover more poetry. So the next one I'm going to be doing is going to be Jahili poetry from the Mu'allaqat Saba, the seven Mu'allaqats. From there I'll choose one and we'll cover that. Maybe Imrul Qais or someone, just go through his poetry in a similar fashion. But the good thing about that is because that's something which is important to all adibs or daba. So all linguists, Arabic linguists in history have really studied those. So those are important to study, I think. And that's it. And next week, inshallah, what I'll do is the Taha Hussein. It's going to take me a bit of time to go through the points, his points, and to cover it. So I didn't want to like rush it in 15 minutes or 10 minutes. So next week, inshallah, I'll send links out to you guys. And I'll put some links on Facebook if anyone wants to join. And then we'll have that. So that will be next week, inshallah, at 10 o'clock, hopefully. And if you have any questions, guys, you can email me. Jazakumullah khair. Yeah, I usually put stuff up on Facebook and YouTube and through emails. Yeah. And my yeah, so emails, YouTube, and Facebook. Anything else, guys?